Hi. For those new to After Effects, we wanted to give you a quick overview of how the user interface works. Now, the user interface did change a lot as of version 7, so if you've used After Effects in the past, but not recently, you might want to watch this as well. Now, currently I'm using After Effects version 7 on a Macintosh. The Mac and Windows versions are virtually identical. After Effects CS3 is also very similar to After Effects 7, so anything you learn here, you can translate straight across into CS3. After Effects comes in a unified application window. As I move the grab bar along the top, you see I move the entire user interface. It normally takes up your whole screen. However, there is a resizing box in the lower right corner that you can use to take up less screen real estate if you want. The user interface consists of a series of frames. Each one of these major sections is referred to as a frame inside After Effects. Inside a frame are panels, different windows of information you might want to access. A frame can hold multiple panels of information. For example, this frame in the upper right has both the info panel and the audio panel. Now, before I get too far, let me go ahead and open a composition, the main building block in After Effects, so you can see some of these panels in context and how you'd use them with each other. The main panel is the project panel. This is where you keep all of your sources, and this is where all the compositions or comps you create reside. It's easy to make folders inside this panel, and that's a great way to keep your project files organized. To open up a comp, I'll double-click it, and you see it opens up in two of the panels. This panel, which includes the visual information, is known as the composition, or comp panel for short. Its partner is the timeline panel. The timeline panel includes all of your timing information. It also holds all of your keyframes. These two are partners and work together. If you were to open a second composition, you'll see that changing to one comp in the timeline panel will change to the other view in the comp panel as well. So they are paired together normally. You can resize panels by moving your cursor in between till you see the special cursor and then dragging to resize. And you might need to do that depending on how big your comp is or how big your display is. The composition panel in After Effects does have a magnification pop-up down here in the lower left corner. We normally leave it at fit up to 100%. That means it will automatically scale the image as large as it can up until full size, 100%, and then it will stop there. This is a good compromise. However, if you're very cramped for space, and if you don't like the crunchy look you get from these strange intermediate sizes, you might want to pick something smaller like 50%. Hand in hand with magnification is the resolution pop-up. Resolution is how many pixels are being rendered to show you the preview image. If you choose a lower resolution, such as half, After Effects will then duplicate the adjacent pixels to fill out the screen. It's good to keep these somewhat in sync with each other. If you're viewing at 100%, it's good to keep the resolution at full. If you're viewing at 50%, then you might as well go ahead and just set half resolution. There's no point in rendering pixels that you're not going to see in the comp window. So try to keep these in sync and After Effects will run more efficiently. And as we mentioned, some windows are tabbed. In After Effects, each composition you open will have a separate tab in the timeline window. In the composition window, however, all of the open comps will appear as menu items in one tab on this view. The reason why that is that you can have multiple views inside After Effects. I can go ahead and open up a new viewer and quickly switch back and forth between multiple comps or different perspectives on the same comp. That'll become particularly important in 3D. It's very easy to go ahead and rearrange your user interface and move panels between frames. For example, the audio panel likes to have a very tall frame to reside in so you can see these meters with more detail. To go ahead and move a panel to a different frame, look for these textured dots along their tops. Grab the textured dots and drag them down to another frame. If you appear in the middle of a frame, you'll get this highlighted area right in the center. That means by releasing it, it will now exist as a tab in the same frame as the other panels in that frame. You can also go ahead and drag it to one of the edges of an existing frame. For example, when one of these edges is highlighted, it means that I'm about to dock this new panel into a brand new frame at this edge of the existing frame. For example, if I highlight this area to the right of this frame, a brand new frame will be created for audio. And of course, everything gets crunched together to match. Also important is in the upper right corner of every frame is an options menu. The top choices in the options menu help you manage that frame. For example, you can undock a panel. It becomes a floating window that you can now go ahead and move wherever you like. And it's easy enough to go ahead and redock it back into the standard interface. Also, these option menus have additional options that pertain to the particular panel you have open at the given time. So in the instructions, when we say click on the option arrow for a panel, we're talking about this arrow in the upper right corner where you can go ahead and modify what your panel is showing you. About the only real trouble you're going to get yourself in After Effects is by closing too many things and needing to get stuff back. For example, it's very tempting to go ahead and just keep closing timeline views. But when you do that, your timeline panel might disappear altogether. No problem, just double click on a comp and it will reappear. As you become familiar with using After Effects, you will spend some time trying to find what is the optimum layout of the user interface for you. Adobe has also provided several standard layouts called workspaces. Standard is the one we do most of our projects in, but they have created other specialized workspaces that open special frames. For example, the text workspace opens up the character and paragraph palettes, making it easy to typeset your own titles. The so-called animation workspace opens up many other controls such as motion sketch, wiggler, and smoother. We'll be playing with those in some of the future lessons as well. If you hit upon an arrangement you like, you can go ahead and save it as your own workspace, such as my personal space. You can go ahead and manage workspaces from this pop-up or from the window menu. Here you can go ahead and select workspaces and again delete or reset workspaces. All other panels that are not currently open are also accessible from the window menu item. For example, if you wanted to add the character palette to your current workspace, you select it from the window item, then go ahead and drag it into whichever frame you prefer to be docked into at that moment. If things get a little bit messy with your workspaces, you can always reset them. For example, for standard workspace, reset standard, discard changes, and it'll go back to the factory defaults. Most of the projects in After Effects Apprentice are done from the standard workspace. We'll give you clear instructions whenever we change that workspace, either by selecting a different one or customizing it to suit a particular task at hand.